All right. Welcome back, everybody. How are we doing tonight? I grabbed a book off the shelf just a second ago. I figure we will start one off with one of my favorites. I don't think it's one that we've looked at on stream. It's one that I've made a video about, specifically, like just a dedicated video about this book on the channel before. But I don't think we've ever looked at it on stream. So we're going to do that. Raphael, always first one in the chat. Pete, Chris, thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you guys. By the way, Chris, that reminds me. I can't remember. I was mowing when I got a text from you about receiving the book. I hope you enjoy it. I can't remember if I texted you back or not because I was mowing, but I'm glad it arrived. I'm glad you've got it. I have a photo book question. Yes, please. Whatever you got. Greg, what's going on? Brian, happy Wednesday to everybody. Appreciate you all being here. Excuse me. The Dr. Pepper cream soda, zero sugar, is it's getting to me. I haven't drank any carbonation of any kind all day, and yeah, it's working against me. Let's see here. So, I guess first, before we get started, we'll switch over to the overhead camera. Andrew Borowick, Along the Ohio. This is the book I thought we would kick off the stream with. It's super, super good. And I'm biased, for sure, because it's the kind of photography I like, and a lot of it is very close to home along the Ohio River. So Portsmouth, Ohio, a place that I was just shooting a few weeks ago. It's where I was born. There's some work from Portsmouth in here. Andrew Borowick's work is great, so excited to share this one if you haven't seen it already. Tim says, finally get to catch a stream. Well, thanks for being here. Hope you enjoy it. Blue Laugh says, how do you know how to make a photo one page with borders, one page without borders, or across both pages? So in terms of how do I know how technically, I guess I just want to make sure I get the question right. Are you asking how do I technically do that, like within a program, or are you asking how do you decide when you should have a border, when it should go across the whole spread? Let me know, and I'll try to be helpful. So this book, like I said, okay, how do you decide? I think really that's, I mean, like most things, it's going to come down to the photo, and you're really just going to have to feel it out. Let me zoom this out here. Maybe. I've got a zoom lens on this overhead camera, which I'll talk about again in a little bit. But yeah, how do you decide? Like anything, you're going to really have to like see for yourself in terms of, you know, what your options are. This is why making a lot of prints and sequencing, like putting things in order a certain way and then mixing it up and trying it over again, same kind of thing when it comes to deciding how to format things. Now, I will say on my most recent book, this was a little more open to the designer because I specifically told my designer, I was like, you know, I want this to be a collaborative thing. I have my ideas, but I know that my ideas are very straightforward and everything is going to be formatted roughly the same way. There wasn't going to be a whole lot of deviation. It was going to be, I mean, essentially like this, where everything is, it's all sized the same way, you know? That was the way I did Friend of Mine, the book I did before Surveyor. And to be honest, it's like it was just a safety cop-out choice. Like, that's the only reason I made it that way, was because I didn't know, like, I didn't feel a certain way about formatting things differently. I just knew this is the safe way of going about it. And so that's truly the way I did it for a friend of mine. With Surveyor, I wanted to try and experiment a little bit more, and I really left this up to the book designer. There were a few photos that I specifically knew, like, I don't want this going across the double spread, like the across the gutter, because depending on the photo, it can work or it can't. Like, sometimes where the gutter is, you might lose a really key portion of the photo, or that just might interrupt a really key portion of the photo. So I knew I had specific photos in mind where I said, you know, I know this one, I don't want any other photo, like for this photo, for instance. I could say I don't want anything opposite of this photo. I know I want it to be by itself. Versus you might have a pairing where you say, I know I want to have these two photos together. But playing with the size of them, these are formatted the same size. Thinking about making one of these photos a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller than the other, that's going to start changing up how things feel in relation to one another. Certain photos, like this photo, for instance, if this was printed much smaller, you would probably it'd be much easier to lose the detail of the one person walking right there. You know what I mean? This is printed this size. You can see, you know, with my hands for comparison, like it's printed big enough that you're not going to miss that. If this were printed much smaller on the page, little details like that you're going to miss. So again, like it's kind of a cop-out answer, because like anything, it just depends. But truly, you have to kind of experiment and try different things out. So for me, I took that from my designer and just said, you know, I don't want anything to be interrupted if they're going across the gutter. And if there are really small details, I don't want it to be printed smaller. For instance, like, or for the sake of not getting those little details lost. So this is one of my favorites right here in this book. I hope that's helpful. Let me know if at all, if that is helpful. But I mean, that's how it went for me when it came to making my own books. Like everything, you really do just kind of have to feel it out. But those are the things I keep in mind. If certain details are going to get lost, if it's printed smaller versus bigger, and if certain photos kind of distract from one another, or if they play well off of one another. It really just depends. Michael, I appreciate that. Matthew, what's up? This is Along the Ohio by Andrew Borowick. I have a full video on this book on the channel, but I've never looked at it here on stream or shared it on stream here, so it's a great one. I mentioned earlier at the top of the stream, I'm biased because, you know, Along the Ohio, it hits close to home, and it's very much the kind of stuff I love, so yeah, it's great. If you like Sage Sawyer, her work, more specifically, I think her sense of like landscape, she typically has a lot more people in her work, but a lot of the landscape reminds me of her work. I'm a graphic designer, and that is helpful. I just started with a pinhole panoramic film camera. Hell yeah. That's awesome. Well, in a way, like as a graphic designer, you kind of have the leg up. At least that's the way I would look at it, because I don't know the ins and outs of graphic design, but I feel like so much of that knowledge could be applied to photo books. So use your your expertise, use your knowledge as well, and lean into that, because that's awesome. Yeah, so all of the work was made along the Ohio River, which stretches a decent distance, but along Portsmouth, Ohio, where all of my family's from, where I was born. All of that is just about an hour south of here along the Ohio River. So I can't remember. I might be able to remember when I see it. A lot of this work was made, if I remember right, like early 2000s. Sorry, let me look here. Okay. I believe it's early 2000s. We'll try to find out before we wrap this one, but it was one of those that I can't remember how I found his work. I think, if I remember right, it was like an Amazon recommendation, which is really odd and not not the usual place where I would discover a photographer. But I actually think it might have been one of these photos right here where I was like, I don't know what this is, but the title intrigued me, and the work immediately I connected to it. And yeah, it was just one of those instances where you find a photographer that you're like, how am I just now finding this one? You know what I mean? Let's see, that one. It's funny because it's, like I mentioned, it's not just all in one town, but so many of these photos, I think, yeah, that could easily be Portsmouth, Ohio. Do we have anybody here in the chat that's in Ohio currently? I hear from people that are in Ohio all the time, but Jake, good to see you, man. Thanks for being here. As a graphic designer, making zines, books is so fun. Oh yeah, that's the thing. Like it's been a while since I've done any kind of like putting a zine together or putting a book together myself. I think because with a friend of mine, I worked on that with Kevin, and Surveyor, I had Darren, the designer I hired. She handled all of that, so I think the social distancing zine that I did at the start of the pandemic was the last time I put anything together file-wise, like myself. And pretty sure I did it on my, I did it on my iPad, if I remember right. That feels like a lifetime ago. Brian, what's up, brother? Missouri, Ohio, what's the damn difference? I mean, pretty much. I've never been to Missouri, but I've seen enough to go, yeah, I'd feel pretty at home there. Tiger Shark, I'm in Ohio. Where are you at in Ohio? Have you seen Ray Barbie's new book, The Joy is in Capturing the Journey? As a matter of fact, Jake, we took a look at that last week, I believe. Last week or the week before, I can't remember. I'm doing a video on that book, sort of a video slash, interview with Ray to talk about that book, that being his first photo book. And I'm stoked to talk to him about it and pick his brain. It's rad. Akron, right on. I haven't really spent much time in Akron. I went there to some metal shows like way back in the day, probably like 15 years ago. And I don't know if I've been to Akron since then. It's been a long time. Only medium format I've shot is on a modified Seraflex. So far, so good. I've never shot with one of those, but let me know how it goes. Here's another one of my favorites. I love this one. Not missing much. People would say the same thing about Chillicothe, so I get that. Hey Matt, question for you. Your book Surveyor was the first photo book I've ever bought, and I love it. Oh, that's amazing, Steven. I appreciate that. What's a good way that I can find more books to add to my collection? So this is a common question, and one that I wish I would have had answered for me when I first got started, because I mostly just relied on like asking friends, going to Barnes and Noble and like seeing what they had, which wasn't much, but that was really all I had access to in person. And so finding photo books that you like, obviously mine, if that's the only one you've got, I would suggest starting with these live streams and my YouTube videos. Not to, not to blow smoke up my own ass, but that's the whole point of me making the videos about zines and photo books, is just so there's something out there. You know what I mean? Like there's a spot for work to be shared. And I'm not the spot for people to, find new photographers or find photo books. I'm not someone who covers everything. It's not like, it's just me sharing the work that I like. So it's very biased. It's very much my own tastes, but I'm not a photo professor. I'm not an art professor. I'm not an art critic. I'm a photographer that really enjoys this stuff, and I enjoy sharing it with people. So my tastes and what I share, that's all going to be very subjective, and it's not going to be universal. However, I've tried to cover a decent amount of photography that I think most people, regardless of, what your background is with photography or what you're interested in, I try to get a decent amount of variety out there for people to find stuff. But start with one book that is not self-published like mine. I mean, that is one way, and then you can find that photographer's other work, or photographers that inspire that photographer. There's always, you're kind of always following the thread of seeing who inspired who. There isn't really anything that's that new or groundbreaking anymore. Pretty much everything has been done, but everyone kind of has their own style and their own influence, and you kind of take all of those influences and make it your own. But all that to say, you find the work you like, look up information on that photographer, see who their inspiration was, but also look at other books from that same publisher. This is just a nice little white picket fence Americana shot. But if you go to the publisher that, put out the book that you really like, see what other books that they've put out. Oftentimes not always, publishers definitely have their variety, but, if you like one book that they put out, there's a very good chance you'll find other work that they've published that you enjoy. So find the publisher, go to their website, see if they have an email newsletter. Baltimore Photo Space, that's an obvious recommendation that I make all of the time. Two of my very good friends, Kyle and Tori in Baltimore, they've got an amazing photo book store and very good people. So I always encourage people to support Baltimore Photo Space. It's by far the best place to buy online in terms of packing. Kyle packs his books better than anyone I've ever seen, and he prides himself on how well he takes care of his books. So support Baltimore Photo Space any chance you get. But as I mentioned, find the publishers that you really enjoy. See where their books are being carried. Just try to do some digging, and you'll start to build up a little collection in no time. Trespasser is a great publisher right now, Corey. I don't have what's it called? 12 I'm blanking on the name. Is it 12 Acres? I think it's just called 12 Acres. Henry O'Head's book, I don't have that one. I haven't put in an order for any new books in a minute. We are on summer income right now with Molly and I. She doesn't have the regular summer hours with her school nurse position, so right now all funds are being put towards everything family related. So hopefully I can pick that book up. There's a couple other though. This one right here, I shared a photo a couple nights ago actually. Let me see. I actually have the print. I've got some prints that I made here. These aren't prints from the darkroom. These are prints I made on my Epson P900. So that wall right there, whoops. This wall right here, the flood wall in Portsmouth, on the other side, it's covered in amazing murals. But that's this right here. That's Portsmouth, Ohio. That is where all of my family is from and where I was born as well. I've always lived in Chillicothe, but I was born in Portsmouth, where all of my family's from. And I also didn't know that Portsmouth, Ohio, legitimately just learned this. I've been to the stadium before, and I didn't even know it. The Portsmouth, before the Detroit Lions were the Detroit Lions, there was the Portsmouth Spartans, and they were an NFL team in Portsmouth. They sold the franchise and went to Detroit, and that's when it became the Lions. I had no idea until literally like a month ago. Let me see here. Let me try and get caught up on stream or on the chat. Rakesh, what are online resources to find abandoned buildings in towns? Atlas. Oh, I didn't even know about that. Well, good looking out, Corey and Pete. Yep. Pete, that's my method as well. Always driving around. I didn't know about the site online. Good looking out, Corey. Julian, sorry, I'm trying to get caught up on all the chat. This is Along the Ohio by Andrew Borowick. Very, very good one. It's been out for a minute. As a matter of fact, Andrew has a book currently out. It's another one that's like, again, on the list. I think it's printed through MagCloud. If I remember right, he has a MagCloud store with that on it. I can't remember, but his work is great. This is another one of my favorites. I'm a sucker for just a random leaning post like that to toss into the middle of everything. Yes, Pete, that was little carpenter bee on Molly's face. And that was the other thing. I had some friends who were like, how did you make that contact sheet like that? Did you make a mask like to lay everything out? And I was like, oh, no. I should clarify. This is printed digitally. But this was just done in Lightroom. I just selected the photos that I made in a sequence like that and then just lined them up. But yeah, little carpenter bee crawling around on her face. That was from sometime last year. I'd forgotten all about it until just recently when I developed. Weird seeing Portsmouth. I grew up in West Virginia and went to school at Marshall University in Huntington, right across the river. Hell yeah. Yeah, I've got family that went to Marshall, and a lot of friends that went to Shawnee there in Portsmouth, so. I have had a chance to go through Mike Brody's Failing. It's wild. It's definitely a book that we've talked about it before. It's one of those that I need to go through ahead of time, like before I go live, and sort of make, little bookmarks for pages that are safe to share on screen. It's pretty graphic at times for, I guess, for a broad audience, but it's a good one. There's a Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and it's kind of set up the same way as this book, but the one in New Hampshire is a seacoast city. Yeah, it's all of my family growing up in Portsmouth. Like, I remember hearing so many stories about just what Portsmouth was like way back in the day, when the river was a much bigger part of everything. Portsmouth, like a lot of this area, has seen a lot of hard time, but it's really come a long way. I will say, when I went there and just wandered around for like an entire day about a month ago, um, I could tell it's bounced back in a lot of ways. So yeah, you can see here stretching how many miles? A lot. Pennsylvania to Illinois, all the way through there. So let's look. Find Portsmouth photo. Aside from the one I already looked at. Yeah, and see then there's like Scioto County, Point Pleasant, Gallipolis. Scioto County is 117. That's the county Portsmouth is in. Better late than never. What's up, Benji? Let's see. This one here. Okay, so that's Scioto County as well. Yeah, it's a good one. Hey Matt, a year or so ago you said you might have stumbled across some unsold copies. A friend of mine, was there any update on that? There was. I did post some. I mean, in all honesty, like if I'm looking at, let me look at it. Let me see. I probably have like 7, maybe 8 copies left entirely. A friend of mine, and I've hung on to them specifically as like backup copies, I guess. Friends and family, that kind of thing, not books that I would just like sell. But Corey, if you really want one, shoot me an email now or after the stream, whenever, and we can work something out. I can let go of a copy for you. I will not be printing that one again, that's for sure. But if you're interested in one of those, let me know, and we can put that towards maybe another book to look at on stream. Do it that way. So that was Along the Ohio by Andrew Borowick. Super, super good. I believe I saw a second ago. Yeah, he's a professor. I'm not sure where, but I did see that, Matthew, somewhere online. I remember reading that he was a professor. I talked to him briefly on Instagram. I think I might have tagged something and he saw it. But yeah, super good. Oh, wow, you want to look at friend of mine on stream? We can do that. I haven't looked at that book in so long, so you can watch me crawl out of my skin. Can you share more of your darkroom prints and Polaroids? I'll do that real quick, what I got here. So these weren't darkroom prints, though. These were just prints I made of, life. There we go. You know how many haircut photos I've got of the kids over the years, and how many of Elliot just losing his mind when he was little? This guy, I managed to convince myself to stop and ask someone for a portrait while I was in Portsmouth. I was walking around the farmer's market when I got there that morning. I was looking to get coffee and saw they had a coffee truck out there at the farmer's market, so I grabbed that and just started walking around, kind of getting my legs going. And I saw this dude, and the light, he was backlit just like that, and all the light hitting his hair and everything, and his beard like over his shoulders. I was like, yeah, dude, let's run that. Super nice dude. Was that a cream soda, zero sugar Dr. Pepper? Brian, you know what it is. You know what it is. That's exactly right. That's what that was. Anything zero sugar, I'll give it a shot. This is all Portsmouth stuff, and I'm stoked to go back there. Again, these were all just printed literally through Lightroom. But I want to keep revisiting Portsmouth over the summer. Definitely planning on going back sometime before the end of the month, so we'll see. Oh, what up, player? Everyone give a shout out to Kevin O'Mara in the chat. Let me find, hold on. No, there it is. I was looking for one of my copies here. Oh, do you want to see some wild Polaroid film real quick? That color. I've been shooting this over the past week, and it's wild. I'm normally a stickler about specifically just white frame, like traditional Polaroid, but I do like that one. It's weird. Matthew, I heard you mention metal shows. You ever take photos at shows like Hardcore Dudes on Stage? Yes, that's like one of the big ways that I got started with photography in terms of just like practicing and learning what was going on, and also like working with people and getting hired to do stuff. A lot of that early on was all music related. Like a lot of metal bands, hardcore bands. That was primarily the focus. That's how I met my wife. Long story short, I was photographing a band for a while, and I met someone who joined the band, and then he got engaged, and I took his engagement photos. And he was engaged to Molly at the time. It sounds a lot more scandalous than it really is. You see here, we're looking at a water-damaged book. I don't know if you can see that. I left the barn window open one day when I was leaving. Tyler and I had to run out of town to go drop something off, and then came back with the windows open, and everything was soaked. But luckily, it was only my books. It was like this, Surveyor, and then a copy of each of my zines. The zines didn't get damaged, though, so it's all good. But yeah, Molly hit me up after they never got married. It didn't last much longer after that. And then a while later, Molly hit me up, and I was like, yeah, we'll see what's going on. We'll see what's going on with that. And then here we are, 12 years later. Who'd have thunk it? Hot take one, Matt. Are you gonna see Turnstile in September? I would love to, but I doubt it. We're seeing the Gaslight Anthem in like a couple of weeks for Molly's birthday, and that's one of our all-time favorite bands. And if we only have time to see, like, to lock in proper childcare for one show, it's gonna be the Gaslight Anthem. Here in a couple weeks. So hot take, 59 Sound. Yeah, 59 Sound, dude. That record is the best one for sure. They're all great, but that's the best one. What else should I be up to? Oh, what's up? What else should you be up to on a Wednesday night? Simple Syrup, what up, Josh? Hello from Tokyo. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. I forgot I wasn't flipping through here. Hot take, old or new Turnstile? Dude, give me all of it. I love new Turnstile. I've listened to that record over and over already. But I also love their very first record, all of them since then. I love when they continue to evolve, when it doesn't sound like the same record over and over. I'm a fan of that. Kevin, the same tired story I give my wife. Gaslight Anthem. First time here for the stream. What a cozy vibe this stream is. Hey, I appreciate that. We're big on the cozy. Big on the cozy, big on the books over here. Dude, I love the Gaslight Anthem. That's one of the reasons I started following your channel. Oh, that's amazing. That rules. Yeah, that's always been like one of Molly and I's favorite bands. When we first started dating, I was like really, really into them. Got a American Slang tattoo because of it. Like was really into them. And then yeah, ever since then we got to see them. When was that? It was like I think it was the 10-year anniversary of the 59 Sound. We saw them in DC. We drove to DC just for that tour because that was they played like I think 3 shows that weekend, and the closest one was in DC, and it was on our anniversary weekend. So we were like, all right, let's do it. It was so much fun. Them, Kevin says, Gaslight Anthem or Tom Petty. I mean, dude, you can't go against the king. So Tom Petty, but obviously we're splitting hairs here. Toss Orville Peck in the mix, and we're gonna start. You know, I'm gonna have a problem. Okay, I think I need to buy this book. This book, Pete, mine. This is old stuff. This is again, I put this out in 2021. Shout out Kevin. He helped me with more than I can even explain. But it's all photos from 2013 and 14. And so it was like, I'm putting it out one last time because this was like the first time I actually put photos together and felt like I had something, you know, like it was the first time I actually felt like things were connecting photo to photo. But yeah, all 10 plus years old. I love the image sequencing between the 2 pictures of the dude smoking. Oh, yeah, yeah. I think, Kevin, let me know. That might have been Kevin's doing. I can't remember if we had... I think initially, like the first time I put this out in a small little blurb book in 2014, I'm pretty sure I had this photo here on the left and then this one on the right. And this was his bike there. Yeah, Kevin says that was one of my edits. And yeah, Kevin made the decision, like, have the one where he's lighting the cigarette first, and then the second one with his head down. Yeah, good shit. Exactly why you want second opinion on stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think of that. Now, I always, like, that stuck out to me. That's why I remembered that it was one of Kevin's notes, because I was like, ever since then, the idea of not just pairing photos side by side, but going from this side to this side, you know, that's a massive, massive difference. Blue Laugh, has anyone ever tried a Petzval lens? I have. I tried one of the lomography lenses, and if you like that look, they are so much fun. Without a doubt. Like, they do that one thing. So if you don't want that look all of the time, stopping the lens down will help somewhat, but like you're really getting that look all the time, which is why you would buy a lens like that, in my opinion. So they're fun. If you like that look, go for it. Get Kevin on the stream. It needs to happen. I mean, we could absolutely figure out a way to do it remotely. What we really need to do is get a player in here in the barn with me. But Kevin's in Minnesota, so it's one of those things that we don't get to hang nearly as much as we should. It's been a little over a year. Well, no, not since you last visited. Kevin visited over the winter and was right on time to help me through a panic attack. So what are friends for? You know what I mean? That was perfect timing as Kevin was passing through town. Lomo 800, yeah, for sure. Yeah, Lomo 800 is a solid one, especially in 120. I used to shoot that one a lot in 120. This one right here was one of my personal favorites. Um, Someone asked, "How do you feel the photos have gone? How do you feel your photos have progressed since this book release?" Kofi, that's an amazing question because I feel like my mind changes all the time. Um, but Kevin, I mentioned earlier, Kevin's thing going from one photo to the next. This one here, having the two white heads of hair and the two lights on the railroad gate. That was one of the things that I hadn't decided until Kevin made that note earlier in the book. And I was like, oh, that's what I want to do with this one right here. Just saw a video of Granny Days talking about it and use it. Looks cool. Yeah, it's a good one. Shout out Jason. Granny Days. Jim says, had a Petsful and sold it. Yeah, I had one myself as well. And I think I got it on some kind of a trade, if I remember right. But, yeah. It's definitely a one-trick lens, you know, which isn't a bad thing. Like I said, just depends on what you're going for. He's the king of self-deprecating humor. Yeah, without a doubt. That's what you that's what you need from him. You know what I mean? Yeah, I haven't looked at this one in a while. Did you see Ben Stiller sharing his BTS pics of Severance with his M6 and Portra? Yes, I did. I haven't seen Severance yet. I've heard it's amazing, but I have seen a lot of rad behind the scenes photos that he shot. There's another photographer, like Cinebeard, I think is his name. I talked to him briefly on Instagram. But he works on the show in some capacity and has a bunch of behind the scenes photos, which looks really rad. Kevin, oh yeah, I didn't answer that question, did I? Change topics probably. It said, Kevin says, I think your work has improved and you've learned how to really stride out your vision. That I appreciate. You know how I feel about my own work, Kevin. You know, it's challenging because, like, I think some of the photos in Friend of Mine are still, I don't know if I would say some of my favorite photos. They have a special, like, meaning to me, I guess, or just like a special place in my heart just because they're photos I made. And I don't know, like, my relationship to photography and my own work, it has continued to evolve since I shot these photos and since I made this. So it's like, it's just one of those things that I never know how to fully say without, I don't know. It's like, I don't know how to say for sure how I feel about it because it's changed so much. But, oh, I appreciate that. It's friend of mine named, yeah, as Chris says, it's friend of mine by some dude named Matt. This is my old book that I put out in 2021, photos from 2013 and 14. Yeah, I don't know. Like these photos, Kevin says you've loosened up a lot. It's been really rad to see. Well, now you're going to get me emotional talking about it. Because that means a lot coming from you. But it's just one of those things that, like, I think now I'm never going to get back to, like, this version of myself. Meaning I've just changed so much that, like, it's hard to see the photos that way now. I don't know how to describe it. It's I mean, I feel that way with Surveyor. Like with Surveyor, I already think uh so much time has passed that I don't know. It's like I fully am just like it exists. It's something I did in the past, and it's just it's its own thing now. It's not my, I don't know. I'm trying to think how to describe it because this is something I think about a lot, and I think it's worth talking about specifically because I don't know the answer yet. Um, I've had moments since putting out Surveyor where I've just thought like I don't want to make anything anymore. Like I don't want to put anything out again, and I'm going to, but I had those thoughts where I'm just like, what if I just completely stopped and didn't I don't know. I think it's because combining it with YouTube and like putting myself in front of the camera, which is something I still am not comfortable with, and putting my work out there, my feelings about it have changed, and I think I've just had times where I'm like, what if I just stopped and there was never any expectation attached to any camera I ever touch again. You know what I mean? And that wasn't like a serious thought because hey, I got to make a living and this is what I'm doing. And it's not what I'm going to do forever, but I don't have any like immediate thing that I want to jump into. You know what I mean? Um, and I enjoy what I do. It's just like any other job or any other thing. You have those moments where you're just like, I don't know, you want to step away from it completely just to like completely change everything up. And so one of the things actually I've had a hard time that I feel like I've finally understood why, as my feelings have changed on photography, on cameras, on anything related to photography, as I've been able to like, because I get questions on previous videos or people will ask me a question and then I'll see that and I'm like, my opinion has changed on this. And had I known my opinion on something would change, would I have shared it? And it's like, you can't retroactively or what's the word I'm looking for? It's like I can't pre-edit myself based on what to share. But I think that is a big reason why sometimes when I have an idea for a video or just an idea for something I want to talk about, I always think I'm going to come back around to this when I have like finished my thought. You know what I mean? It's like I'll keep that same note, whether it be in a physical notebook or in my notes app. And it's always like when I get back around to like finishing that idea or that thought to where I know for sure. And I think because of that, I've just like pushed it off entirely. And I put things off because I just go, well, I don't know for sure yet. You know what I mean? It's a really weird thing to figure out. You know what I mean? It's like things that I'm learning traits or still finding out things or habits about myself when it comes to how I make videos and photos and put stuff out there. I don't know. It's one of those things that I'm always analyzing, probably a little more than I should, but trying to work on that, trying to just like remind myself that everyone knows this is what it is. Is that making sense? I don't know. Is anyone listening? It's like a kid, once you birth them, they go on to have their own lives and you are no longer ours. Exactly. That will make me cry if I think about that. My babies are growing up way too fast. But yeah, it's exactly like that. That's another reason why I have a hard time looking back at old photos, because I think my thoughts and feelings have changed on photos so many times, and like trying to know when to trust your gut on how you feel about a photo and trust that it's not going to be changing again. I don't know. It's weird. Peeping those NBs in the background. Yes, they are. They're not in here. They're in the house. Inside here, I just have Polaroids because old habits die hard. But yeah, Reynolds new shoe for New Balance. That was my Father's Day gift. They're so comfortable. Like, I already told Molly. I was like, hey, if you ever are thinking what would Matt want for Christmas or his birthday, it's like, just keep getting that same pair of shoe. Doesn't matter what color. Doesn't matter if I've already got that color. One day they'll stop making it and it'll be sad. I already am thinking about that. You have a nighttime DJ smooth voice. Oh, hell yeah. I honestly, most people tell me I have a grating voice. I remember the first time I didn't know what vocal fry was. Someone left me a comment, like, just ripping me apart and mentioned vocal fry like 3 times. And I was like, I don't even like French fries that much. You know what I mean? Just pull a Mimi Plum and sit on an archive for 30 years. See, that's the other thing, is like, I tell myself all the time, I just think, like, I feel like I have no time left. There's something about, I don't know what it is, but like, I am constantly feeling like I am done. I've ran out of time for anything I want to do. And I remember I'm 34, so I got to keep myself in check. Finding old negatives of family members that have since passed away always hits me like 10 semi-trucks in a row. Each time, it's hard reflecting on the past. Brother, I feel ya. You might see right back there, I've got a VCR, a stack of VHS tapes, and my Atomos Ninja 5. I have been digitizing all the VHS tapes. Not all of them. I mean, I just started, and we have totes full of them, but I've started the process of digitizing everything just by running my VCR DVD player combo that was left over from when my parents lived here. I've got that hooked up to a little HDMI to AV, the yellow, red, and white cables. So I've got AV to HDMI, and then I've got the HDMI running to the Atomos Ninja 5. And I'm getting 1080 output on these old VHS tapes, so I'm happy with that. I've been digitizing stuff from like my dad's retirement party, which was when I was like 3 years old. And so the first shot is like my dad getting out of the car, and he picks me up and he's carrying me. And it was like I'd never seen that video before. Seeing that now, since both of my parents have passed, and like scanning in all the old photos, it's heavy, man. It's weird. Elliot and I have been watching him a lot, and that's been really rad because he didn't know my dad. My dad passed when Elliot was like 3 months old, and so all he has are photos and stories. And so now showing him videos, it's a trip. Oh man, Matthew, I'm sorry to hear that, man. That's tough. I've had that happen before with rolls I didn't know that had photos of my parents on there, and yeah, man, it's heavy. That's another like thing that has definitely played a big role in like a lot of me just feeling like I've started over in all aspects of life, photography as well, but like when you're grieving and like losing a parent or both parents, especially when you have such a good relationship, like yeah, it's I don't know how to describe the literal like shift or just reset that happens, or at least that happened for me. I don't know. I mean, it's like all of it, it's something that has continued to evolve over time, but Um, I'll tell you, looking back at myself, like, over the years and seeing, like, when stuff like that was really hitting me and just being able to, like, see it in the videos, I don't know, it's weird. Sometimes that is what makes it, like, not feel real. All of the YouTube videos and just, like, keeping going through shit like that, sometimes I'm like, maybe that's why it hits in such such heavy waves, like, off and on, because you're just trying to keep up with life. I don't know. But, like, photography and everything, that kind of stuff takes such a backseat to real life, even when it's your life and, like, all you care about. You know what I mean? Like, photography is the only thing I've ever felt like I actually connected with everything around me, with the people around me. I mean, skateboarding, I would get that same kind of connection with people, but not in the same way where you feel like you're contributing in a way. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but, like, even then, when real life stuff like that happens, it's hard to, like, care enough about if your photography is any good or, like, if this looks good. You know what I mean? Stuff like that just feels so trivial at the end of the day. There's someone, if Kevin's still in the chat, maybe he can remind us, because he's probably told me about it before. Maybe there was an essay or a book that's specifically about, like, I have Art Can Help by Robert Adams, which is great, but just sort of books that are about, like, the need for art and the need for creativity, especially when things feel so grim and bleak and just, like, hopeless. Like, everything that's going on right now, not just in the whole world, like, in general, but in America right now, it's right in our face. And yeah, at times when, yeah, there it is. Photography is easy, photography is difficult. Paul Graham. Thank you, Kevin. I knew Kevin would know that one. Yeah, it's hard to care about photography when there's, like, humanity issues happening and, like, real life stuff at stake. And so that has been a big aspect, I think, for me with photography. Sontag has one regarding the pain of others. Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I'm like, I knew there would be something. I know that I've heard people speak on it in more than one situation, but that's something that's hard for me and has been hard for me to, like, tap into when grand scheme of things, like, photography is not that serious. It can be, and it is, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's both are true. That's the whole reason I want to have Pretty Pictures and, like, have an outlet called Pretty Pictures, where it's just a recurring zine of some form where I have a place to put photos to live. And in the least pretentious way possible, that's how I would describe photography. It's just pretty pictures. Like, even when it's not pretty pictures, like landscapes and sunsets and whatever, you boil it all down, that's really what it comes down to. We're all just looking for things that, for whatever reason, we're like, yeah, I like the way that looks right there. And that's been a big reason for that, is because if I try to look for anything further than that at times, at least in my own work, it just feels like, grand scheme of things, it's not all that important. I'm just humoring myself, you know, I'm entertaining myself with a camera. Did you see Senna's photos of the LA protest? Great example of how art can intersect with activism. Yes, he's incredible. He's someone that I had a chance to talk to a couple of years ago for the first time, and coincidentally enough, he was talking about his dad passing. It was like right around the same time that my mom passed, and we talked a lot about that. Um, and we've meant to sit down again and have him on the channel to talk, because I've wanted to talk to him specifically about that. As life happens, we're all busy, and we haven't been able to do it again. But hopefully, that can happen soon. Yeah, amazing photographer though. Amazing photographer, and that's been encouraging to see people covering the protests in a way that is not just exploiting. You know. Great chatting with you, Matt, and all your homies. Got to roll. But hope to keep more and other conversations going. Well, appreciate you being here, man. Every Wednesday night we're here, and the uploads or the replays are always available afterwards. So yeah, glad you enjoyed it, man. Thanks for hanging. What do you guys want to look at next, though? Let me know. I'm going to try to get caught up on the chat. Do you use lens filters besides an ND filter? For black and white photography, I used to use an orange filter. If you, as a matter of fact, I think he might have just shared it on Instagram. If you go to the Darkroom Labs Instagram, or maybe it was on Trev, at Trev Lee, TREVLEE. I'm pretty sure Trev just made a post going over using colored filters with black and white film, but essentially you're going to be able to change the values of certain colors in your scene using those filters. An orange filter I used to use just because it added a little bit of extra contrast, and it kind of lightens up the skin tones a little bit, or at least white Caucasian skin tones. And I liked the way that looked. I used it on Tri-X for a little while, years and years ago, but orange and yellow filters are pretty typical if you want to add a little bit of contrast. Other than that, polarizing filters, if I'm shooting into any kind of reflective surface and I don't want that reflection, using a circular polarizer that you can adjust on the lens, you'll be able to like turn the polarizer and watch the reflections disappear. So depending on what you're shooting, those are useful. And that's really it. I've got some like really weird prism filters and stuff for Polaroid cameras, but for general purpose photography, that's really it. If I'm shooting in like really cruddy situations or where there's a lot of like dirt, sand, anything like that, I might throw a UV filter on the lens just to protect it, but that's really it. Ian, I feel like it's a Barbara Bosworth kind of night. You know what? Do I still have... I don't know if I still have that book. I had... What was it called? One Star in a Dark Voyage? I think that's what it was called. I don't have that book anymore. At least I don't think so. No. I was going to say, I think I sold that one a while ago. Sorry about that, Ian. Any other suggestions? Swing and a miss. What do you think of cinematography as a natural progression from photography? I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Like, for me, when I've used anything like an X-Pan or anything with that aspect ratio, shooting like the cinematographers that compose with whatever the really narrow aspect ratio is, it looks challenging for me. Like, shooting things that wide, composing things that wide seems really challenging, but it's something that I want to improve at and get better at. Although I just picked up, where is, oh, it's right in front of me, little Action 5. I'm currently streaming this camera, the Osmo Pocket 3. That's what I'm using right now to record this. But the Action 5, I've been running this and in 4.3, and let me tell you, it feels like the old channel, like the beginning of the YouTube channel. I started the channel just using a little GoPro Hero. No, it wasn't. I don't think it was the 4. I think it was the 3 Plus that I started. it was a while ago, but I've really enjoyed using the Osmo Pocket 3, although I think it's the skateboarder in me that just thinks just small fisheye that I can throw in my pocket. I've wanted to try this one out for a while, especially because it syncs so easily with the DJI mic, which I like a lot. And yeah, I've been filming nonstop with this thing. So I think I'm going to make a video kind of sharing my thoughts on this as well as the Osmo Pocket and just the sort of DJI ecosystem so far. When it comes to like just for content creation, because that's what they're great for. Yeah, they're pretty rad. So if that's something you'd be interested in, let me know, because it's one of those where I'm like, I don't normally cover that kind of gear, but I enjoy, like, as someone on YouTube, it's one of those things that I kind of wish I would have picked these up a lot sooner, just because they make everything a lot easier when you're filming everything yourself. And they've just gotten a lot better, though. I think I've looked at some of the older models, and it does seem like they're just now kind of hitting their stride with their cameras. Like the Osmo Pocket 3 is a massive hit, it seems. And I feel like I've seen more and more people using the Action 5 in settings other than action camera applications, you know? Like all the times, like I said, I started the channel with a GoPro, and that was just me sitting by a window. I've never bought an action camera for that use. I've just thought, if I can make it work, it's too good not to try it. Just having something that small and that easy. So, favorite beer and why is it 805? I'll be honest with you, I'm not a beer guy. 50 West in town, the local brewery, or well, they're based in Cincinnati, but they have a location in Chillicothe as well. They've got good beer, but I mean, it's been like probably a year since I've had a beer. Like, it's been a long time. I've just never been a big drinker. When I was younger and like my friends would have parties and stuff, I would drink then, and Coors Light, Bud Light. Like, it was never. I'm not an IPA guy at all. I've got friends who are all about that, and no, no thanks. When I drank beer, it was cheap and easy to pound beers. You know what I mean? But that was like 15 years ago. So, but I was never a big drinker to begin with. That is shocking, because it looks like you'd crush a craft brewery on a Thursday night. No, that's not my thing. I'd be out in the garden a little more than the brewery, if you know what I'm saying. IPAs taste like grass. I don't know. As I just said, I like the taste of grass. IPAs, not so much. I'm a total craft beer son. Hell yeah. Yeah, my brother likes bourbons and whiskeys, and I'll every once in a while I'll have, but again, that's probably been over a year since I've had any bourbon either. It's been a long time, but it's something I've never really been into. Oh, I missed one. Okay, here we go. I have a question. Should I get the SL2S or the Z8 for concert photography? Okay. Yeah, as Greg says, I think the Z8 has better battery life. I don't know. I'll be honest. I love the Z8. I've got it right here. Kind of one of the things that I so far have not. Genuinely, one of the only things that I've been a little surprised by is the battery life of the Z8. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like, I feel like I haven't done any like hardcore testing. That's why I'm kind of hesitant to say it, because I haven't done any side-by-side testing. but I'm usually the kind of person, I've mentioned it in videos over the years, I usually don't like to have to carry a bunch of batteries. I like to work off of one battery and just charge via USB-C here and there when I need to. And my M11, when I used that, I never, like, it was always plenty of battery, which is a different camera entirely. It's a rangefinder, doesn't use nearly as much, with the screen, the EVF, etc. But when I had the SL2 and the SL2S, I feel like those had better battery life than this does. And the batteries were bigger, so that could just be a factor. But I just don't feel like I get as good a battery life out of the Z8. Everything else, though, in comparison to the SL2S, your autofocus is going to be better, especially for concert lighting. High ISO, SL2S is really great. I haven't had any issues with the Z8 though. Z8's a higher megapixel camera. In theory, you're going to have better low light performance on the SL2S, having a lower resolution. In theory, I'm not one of those guys that is like shooting charts at every ISO and doing comparisons. But I haven't found any issues with the noise in the Z8 at high ISOs. And anytime, I feel like nowadays, no matter what camera it is, if you have an issue with noise, the digital noise reduction and like the denoise feature, if you use Lightroom, has gotten so good that, yes, it's an extra step, but like getting rid of noise, I feel like digital noise in general has become sort of a non-issue because, the software has gotten so good. Make a super loud noise there. I don't still have the M11, unfortunately. It's one of those cameras that it was like, if I'm not going to be using it every day, I'm not going to keep it. And I knew I wanted to have something that I could use for more portrait work. And I liked using the M cameras on a wedding day as like just documenting the day, quick candid stuff, but I never used it for portraits because I just don't like using the M cameras for portraits. I want to be able to see through the lens so that I am not lining things up awkwardly if I'm posing people and have stuff in the background. If I'm shooting, especially at a more shallow depth of field and focus is like critical, and I'm, however far away with a 50 millimeter or longer lens, usually I like to stick with a 50, but still, if I'm shooting with any longer lens, making sure I have accurate focus. There's just a lot of reasons I've never preferred using a rangefinder for portrait work like that. I like to use it for quick stuff that rangefinders are good for. So I don't have the M11 anymore. It's too rich for my blood to to hang on to unless it's bringing in income. So I sold that one a while back. If I could have one digital camera, like period though, and I didn't have to worry about making a living, like doing paid work with it, and it was just my own use, it's probably still the one I would go with. It's just feels close enough to be my M6 that I can trick myself a little easier than I can with some other cameras, but I don't know. I still have my M6, still love it. Tell us about some of the music you've been into lately. Turnstile, Scowl. What else is on my... Let me open up the old Spotify. This is important. Podcast. That's always. Eka Vandal. Eka Vandal, maybe they're from Australia. Can't remember. Super good though. Look up the song Cruising to Self-Soothe. Let me just throw that in the chat. This, it's like, it sounds like a band that I grew up listening to, but I don't have a specific band in mind. That's the name of the song. The band is Echo Vandal, or maybe that's just the artist, the vocalist. Maybe that's just what she goes by. I'm not sure, but that song I already know is going to be in my Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year. It's going to be like, hey, you weirdly listen to this song for 84 hours. I do touring, photo, and video for Scowl. I don't think they're coming to Ohio anytime soon, but would love to have you at next time we're around. Holy shit. Small world. That's amazing. Yeah, that would be amazing if that's possible. Anytime you're in Ohio, please let me know. I would love that. I have been listening to, what is it, Are We All Angels? Is that the name, the most recent record? Hold on. Yes, Are We All Angels by Scowl. That one I've been listening to, like, on repeat for the last few months. And that's another one that, like, feels like a throwback to something that I would have listened to as a kid. Like, but I can't think of any specific band that they remind me of. But I saw you post the album a few weeks ago and was so stoked, but your message requests were off. I did not realize that. I apologize. Someone else said that the other day, and I checked, and I was like, I'm still getting messages from people. Instagram is kind of a disaster most of the time, so that would make sense. But yeah, sorry about that, Jackie. I'm glad you said something, though. I'm glad we got to talking music. Yeah, please reach out if you're ever in the area passing through. That'd be amazing, even just to say what's up. Let's see. Did you like the new Turnstile? Yeah, the new all of Turnstile. Kevin says that's just a Turnstile riff. I mean, it makes sense why I would. Well, one, why it was probably recommended after listening to a Turnstile record, but it's so good. Listen to Bleed But Never Die. That's really okay. Cruising to Self-Soothe was the song that put me onto that band. Bleed But Never Die is hard as nails. It's a song about periods. And it is tough as shit. It's so good. Check that song out. What else though have I been listening to? I feel like that's once Turnstile's new record came out on the 6th, that's pretty much all I've been listening to. Yeah, my buddy Richter sent me a song called Give Me a Sign by Caroline Kingsbury, or featuring Caroline Kingsbury. That song rips. It's like an old, feels like an old school pop song. Super good. Let's see. What about when you compare the outcome of both? Which one do you think is better? Okay, so just straight up image quality. Z8, I would say. I mean, that's really going to come down to your lens choice more than anything, but if I had to say, I would imagine the sensor, dynamic range, definitely the autofocus abilities, but you're talking strictly output. I mean, the SL2S is great, but you're comparing very different cameras, though. Not that that's like a bad thing. They're probably similar in price range, given the used market. But they're very different cameras because the Z8 doesn't feel anything like an SL2S or any Leica camera. This feels like my old DSLR. The D750, D700, D800, all of the DSLRs that I had. That's what this feels like. And I like that about it because I bought this as like a work first camera. Now the SL2S and SL2 I used to use for wedding photography when I did that full time, but now autofocus, for the work I do now, autofocus is a little more crucial. Specifically for portrait work. I've talked about it before. It's hard to go into detail, long story short, but for subjects that are moving very quick, the Z8 is going to be able to keep up a lot better. And the trade-off for that is this feels like what it is. Again, it's not a bad thing, but I think one of the main appeals of the SL system in the first place is it's your mirrorless hybrid system, but it feels like a Leica. You know, it's got a very minimalist design. Everything is all machined out of one single, you know, piece of metal. Like, it feels amazing, and I love the simplicity of it. The, like, much fewer buttons and dials on that camera than you're going to see all over the Z8. This is a very useful tool because you have access to all these things, and it does more than I will ever need it to do. But are you going to enjoy using it as much? It depends on the person. Like, it's one of those things. I used to prioritize stuff like that more, I think. Just the feel of the camera, the simplicity of it. Like, I think I used to value that stuff more than I do now in terms of paying for it. Now, again, on the used market, they're probably in a similar price range, but now I would be more likely to buy the more capable camera in terms of what it can do versus how I feel using the camera. Does that make sense? Because on one hand, I have certain cameras that I love and will never get rid of for that reason. I love the way they feel. My M6 being one of them. Really the only one, because my Minolta that I keep for sentimental reasons, I gave that to Elliot, my son. So really the M6. Like, that one is just, it feels perfect to me no matter what. Any other camera, like, especially if it's a work camera, I feel like I'm just less concerned about how it feels than I used to be. Maybe that makes sense. Hope so. New functionality in the Z8 firmware 3.0 releasing very soon, and it's a major upgrade. I didn't know that, but that's good to know. I have really enjoyed the Z8, or in terms of, like, as a work camera, I've been very happy with it. I've tried to carry the camera around with me the same way I would a smaller film camera, and I still have a hard time doing that, like using it just for my own enjoyment. Again, I'm trying to work on that because I don't think it really matters at the end of the day, but for whatever reason, I still find myself leaving the house with either my FM2 or the M6 and a roll of film lately, despite trying to convince myself to just shoot digital, have one camera that can do video and photo, and call it a day. But we keep doing it. We don't know why, but we keep doing it. Let me see here. Oh, I missed this one. What's up, Raph? With the Nikon Z system or any camera, do they make camera battery grips anymore? Yeah, they do, for sure. I used to love using a battery grip on my D90 and D800. Might have had one for the D750. I can't remember. But yeah, I used to love using those. Oh, whoops. Lost my chat. There we go. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about all that in the comments, in the chat, or on the playback. That'll probably be it for this stream, though. I've got a big shoot tomorrow, or not a big shoot, but like a long shoot tomorrow, and a few other things lined up for this month in terms of shoots, things I haven't booked for a while, so kind of getting back in the groove of things, of doing portrait work, even some like video, like corporate work coming up soon, which I'm honestly kind of excited about because I've missed just having a change of pace. So the more like less exciting corporate stuff I'm actually kind of looking forward to, just because it's been a while. Let me wrap up with a few last questions in the chat. Is there a digital camera to help learn photography with good results while still keeping a film style? For example, the Nikon DF. I mean, yeah, the Nikon DF, the ZF, which is the mirrorless version of that, and like the more recent version. Something like that. One of the Fujifilm cameras. Something like that would be a good option where you can keep the screen flipped around so you're not looking at the screen. If you're using a mirrorless camera, you're really like what you see is what you get as you're looking at the EVF, and so you really don't need to be constantly looking at the screen. You can really focus on just like locking in your exposure and shooting. Um, so yeah, maybe something like that. I mean, you could get like a used X Pro 1 or an XT 1 for probably a very good price nowadays. And Fuji cameras, there have been changes, but like really the when Fuji started coming out with like the XT series, at least everything since then, I mean, you can make great work with any camera. Everyone knows that. But like in terms of decent resolution and decent files and everything, like since probably the first X Pro 1 or XT 1, everything since then is going to be good enough, especially if you're just trying to get started. So, uh, yeah, I mean, any camera you're going to be able to learn with and grow with and make great photos with, but at the same time, I don't know. I feel like those would be a good route to go. Something small, physical dials where you can kind of like see what you're working with, like all of the variables. I feel like that's one aspect of learning with a film camera, not just the film itself, but seeing all of the numbers and like understanding, and not just seeing all of the numbers change when you turn dials, like change on the LCD screen. Does that make sense? Or LED? You get it. You know what I'm talking about. Appreciate that, Michael. Thank you. Goldfinch Recordings. One of the interesting things about Nikon lately is there seems to be a growing number of recipes out there for picture control. It's not quite what Fuji has going on, but it's pretty useful. That is one thing that I've seen more people doing, and I would like to see some of like the LUT support for, I mean, in the similar way as like the picture profiles. LUT support for filming video, but also the picture profiles. If you could create your own custom one, like based off of a LUT or based off of a preset or something, I could see them leaning more into that as more and more of the users seem to be kind of leaning into that sort of like recipe thing, or like scratching that itch. Definitely for the sort of like ZF crowd, you know what I mean? I feel like that Fuji connection is there. Thanks for hanging, Raph. Danny, Instax or Polaroid? Polaroid all the way. Instax is all right. Kevin can tell you otherwise if he's still here, but Polaroid all the way. Eric says, still rocking the D750. Recently got given a GH5, and even being an old camera, it's kind of convincing me to do a Z8 or Z6 III. Yeah, the D750 is one of my favorite cameras, so I love to see people still using that one. It's still, I think, great. But I have really liked the Z8, specifically for like all of the things that make mirrorless great, despite missing the optical viewfinder some days, like actually looking through the lens, not looking at a screen. Some days I do miss it. Actually, I have the D60, one of my very first DSLR. When I look through that, it reminds me like how difficult it was to focus at times, which that's a very old camera, but manual or autofocus with a DSLR versus an EVF, I feel like we're a little spoiled these days. Oh yeah, there you go. If you want a nice little entry point and shoot, the original Lumix LX100 is fun and solid. Hell yeah. Matt, did you install the latest software? Latest software of what? Is it software on or latest firmware for the Polaroid, the i2? Because I've heard that the i2's like firmware update is great. I still haven't updated it. I think it's fine, so I haven't messed with it. Z8. No, I don't think so anyway. What number are we on? Someone let me know what number we're on, and I'll check here. Because I don't think so. I'm on version 2.01. Okay, Jim says it's not out yet. Yeah, I'm on 2.0.1 right now. And then the lens... Yeah, okay, that's 1.1. 3.0 yesterday. Oh, well, yeah, I need to update that then. Maybe I should do it tonight since I got to shoot tomorrow. Okay, got it. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I appreciate the heads up on that. I'm usually late to the party on updating the firmware. Oh, okay, it's in pre-release, not in USA. Got it. Well, regardless, I appreciate the heads up on that. Appreciate y'all hanging with me. LazyBoy1234 says, yo, from Canada, what's up? Yeah, appreciate y'all hanging. I will be back next week. There will also maybe be up, maybe a video might be finished before next week's stream. So you might see me then. If not, I'll be back here next Wednesday night. And we'll hang some more, look at some more photo books, answer questions. The usual. Let me know if you guys have anything you want to see. Until then, though, enjoy the rest of your week. Love you guys, and I'll see you next week. Take care.